Hi, I am Micah Byers. I'm University High School's Instrumental Music Director.
I'm Rebecca Kneubuhl. Now I haven't, I'm so sorry, I thought this exactly what happened last.
Hi, my name is Micah Byers. I'm University High School's Instrumental Music Director.
I'm Rebecca Kneubuhl, Uni Music Mentors Advisor.
Yes, okay, so in July, I contacted Becky and was like, hey, I have this really crazy idea. School's about to start in 2 weeks, and I think we should start a mentorship program where we have 4 composition students from my orchestra class arrange string quartets for the fall and compose their own in the spring. But what this would require is to find 4 dedicated music industry professionals to mentor the students.
You know, we didn't have a real plan. It was just like everything was sort of like, let's do this, and then why not was the guiding philosophy behind every decision. Like, can we get this person? Yes. Can we get that person? Yes. And everybody that I reached out to jumped on board actually really enthusiastically, and this was something really important to all the mentors, actually, not just in terms of giving back, but the kinds of experiences that the other mentors had in high school, either taking an AP music theory class or none at all, but really thinking about our own experiences as young musicians and what it would have meant to have a program like this. And we thought, well, let's do everything we can to build something that would have been beyond our wildest dreams as teenage musicians.
Okay, so our 4 students tonight were Alejandro Aini, Victor Andrescu, Anna Biskup, and Charu Balamurugan. The first 3 are seniors, and Charu is a sophomore. I was working with Victor and Alejandro in a keyboard class, and they were the type of students where, you know, it's a large class size, 40 students in a keyboard class, and they can't sit still. So when I first encountered them, I said, you're going to be a conductor in orchestra where you can move around. And they did really well, and I said, okay, well, I saw the growth in 1 semester, so I thought, well, you know, if they actually had a mentor, someone who could work closely with them, then I'm sure they could grow even more. And as it turns out, they definitely could. Anna Biskup is a very experienced musician. She has training in Europe and just all around solid musician, someone who's really dependable. And I knew that if I put her in this and paired her with a specific mentor, she could become professional. I feel the same way about Charu Balamurugan, who at the age of 14 was just playing piano better than I was at the time. And I knew that if I could get her as a young student by her senior year, she could, already be hired and working in the industry right out of high school. So, and I think one thing that was really unique was, I think there's many parts to our mission in this mentorship program. One of which is that all of our the composer mentors are female, and the reason for that is right now there's a narrative that is going on in our industry that, well, you know, composing is a man's job, or that studios will only hire male composers. And it's my belief that if you really want to change the narrative, you have to start with the younger generation and the people who are the future of the industry, which, in my opinion, are these high school students.
They know what they see, and so if they see women working, and if they see women working not just as composers, but in all kinds of different ways. The 4 mentors, myself, Deb Lurie, and Catherine, and Layla, have very different professional backgrounds, very different, I think, education backgrounds, and we work in different ways. You know, Deb does primarily films, and Layla, animation, and so I think it's important for young female composers to see that there's this huge world open to them of music, and that also, and I think given what happened here tonight with the recording session, that there's a welcoming world. It's not this cutthroat, cruel, mean man's world out there. Like, yes, we are underrepresented in terms of female composers getting jobs, but there also is this other side of the landscape. I don't know if that's a change or if it's something that we're just creating because we know it should look like this, but this was a lovely night full of people being really supportive of these kids.
Well, and now all of the students, male or female, they feel like they can do this, especially after tonight.
Yeah.
And speaking of support, the outpouring support of the music industry has been huge for this program. Everything from all of the mentors mentoring these students for the entire year, everything from CSAC sponsoring this recording session, everything from working with the AFM, specifically Mark Robertson, who contracted this session, as well as Damon Tedesco, who engineered the session, as well as Paul Buckley, who offered Tangent Recording Studio, are, again, going back to the why not, just the worst thing that can happen is someone can say no.
And no one said no.
And no one said no, but it's not only that they didn't say no, they said a resounding yes.
Yes, it was an enthusiastic yes.
Very enthusiastic yes, and I think that's been the best part about all of this, is seeing everyone's enthusiasm in supporting these young musicians. Oh my gosh. So I was telling Becky that it was in Alejandro's piece. He was the last one of the night. We've been here for almost 4 hours. And in the middle of his piece, I almost started crying. I really started to tear up. And it was because the music was so beautiful, but it was also because as a teacher, there are so many hours that you're putting into this job that are definitely not paid for. There's a lot of sacrifice with family, time with family, time for yourself, time for your own professional life, relaxation, whatever it may be that you're putting in to these kids. You're really, really investing your life for their life. And it was in that moment of Alejandro's piece when he was conducting, and then he looked at us and he smiled because he couldn't believe what he heard. And all of the hours I've put into turning their music into notation just was worth it. And
oh no, I'm gonna cry. I really did get a little, I feel like I'm a little weepy for all, I've been working with Alejandro, and I had met the other students briefly a little bit on earlier to work a little bit on the conducting, and again, just to watch, I mentioned this in my interview with him too, that to watch his confidence level go from the first day we met, and he could barely talk to me, was so nervous and yawning and couldn't keep it together, and then to just see him kind of unfold, and then to watch him stand there tonight and soak it all in, and not just that, but I could see it on his face, and I could see it in his body start to relax, and the players giving everything to him, and I was like, this is what everything is all about, and it's we don't get these moments very often, and as a TV composer, we don't get to do stuff like this much. This has been extremely fun and joyful for me, and it just reminds me that this is why we should be doing this.
Okay, so what's coming up next for us is we are about to end our fall semester and we are beginning the spring semester. The focus of the Uni Music Mentor Composer Program is for, in the fall, students to arrange string quartets. Now in the spring semester, they will be composing original string quartet compositions.